Good morning, Carnation Crafters. We are live in the Carnation Crafts studio, and as always, it is wonderful to have your company. Hope you're all really, really well and you've been having a restful week. We've got a really exciting addition, if you like, to Sheer Delight. It's the numbers that come with that glorious, glorious alphabet made with numbers, and it is, made with flowers, numbers, and it is stunning. Absolutely stunning. So all of that freedom that we had with the alphabet for made with numbers, and then Sheer Delight made with, was it made with letters, the original, the alphabet, we've now got it with the numbers, and that means that everything can be completely bespoke now. So this completes your collection, absolutely completes your collection. And today what they're going to do is, and it is only for today, they are giving you the composition pieces, and I'll go through that, but that will go in your checkout as you go through checkout. So when you buy the downloads for the, so hold on, let me get my brain right. Miss Taz and I have been having a moment with some colour on the camera. Wait. When you buy the dies, the vignettes will automatically go in your basket, okay? The composition piece will automatically go in, and it'll go through free. But that's only for today. After the deal of the day is gone, you've got to pay $7.99 for them. It's only today when you buy the dies. So huge chance to grab on. We're going to have a look through them. You're going to see them in all the glory, and I've got 3 demos for you. So hopefully we'll get all 3 of those done. Guys, these are outstanding. Remember how beautiful the Sheer Delight collection was. Remember how gorgeous it was. And now we can make all of those cards that you see on your screen there, everything for ages. So we've had the bespoke for the words. Now we've got the ages. They're stunningly pretty. We're going to have fun. We're going to have fun this morning. So let's have a look at the board so you can look at that. Aren't they stunning? They're just so beautiful. They're on the Carnation website at the minute, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. 230422. I think. Yep, 230422. Are you impressed with that, Miss Taz?
Yeah.
Go to your deal of the day button and have a look. There's your dies. Grab them, put them in your basket, and as you go through checkout, those extra composition pieces for today only will be yours for free. And I think that's an absolute boon. You're going to love these. Oh, there's loads of people here. Hello, all of you. I do love it when you join. Can I just say hello? Over on YouTube, Viv, Melanie, Mandy, Karen. Who have we got over on Facebook? Karen Vincent, Pam Simpson, Linda Poland, Amanda Elizabeth Spriggs. It's jumping, it's jumping, it's jumping. Wait. Pam says another must-have, absolutely. Trina, good morning, Trina. Sam Smith, good morning, lovely. And Alison Ward. Karen Knight over on YouTube saying, hello, everyone from Alabama. Well, hello. I'm presuming it's probably nicer weather there than it is here. Good morning, Miss Allison. Right, so let's have a look at these. They're stunning. They're so pretty. So what you've got with all of these, obviously, are your decoupage elements. So you see all that stunning gloriousness. Kate says it's bread cake, Kate. Absolutely, Kate. I was right about that. It is a bread cake. All of your beautiful decoupage elements that come through that bring this to life. I mean, these absolutely blow my mind. They're so pretty. But today and today only, not only do you get your original colourway, which you would expect. Look at the pretties with the different flowers. Aren't they so gorgeous? What does that mean? It means gloriousness. It means beautifulness. It means all of the things. Think of the ways you can play. Think of the colourways you can play with. Think of the different carnation collections that you've got that go with those colours, that allow you to change, allow you to grow with the compositions that you're creating, all with this. Look at it. And that as well. So when you start to bring them all together, look at that. So pretty. So many options. But midnight tonight, it's going to take it back up to its original price. So just to let you know that that is 230422. Please do head over to the deal of the day. It's called with Made with Flowers number die set. It's got a show price of $49.99, $2.95 UK P&P. Because it's not over 50, my advice, chuck some glue in. Take yourself over 50 quid, you're going to use the glue anyway, so it just makes sense to me. But today is the day, because tomorrow you won't have this deal. It's deal of the day. So there you go. We're going to have a look at the 3 demos, and we're working obviously for some of it with the original Sheer Delight collection. So my first demo will work with Sheer Delight. Sheer Delight, for those of you who missed it, and Lord only knows, it's just the most insanely beautiful collection ever. I'm just going to grab this, Miss Taz. So when we're looking at the cards that we make with this, when we've got your embroidery hoop, your gorgeous, gorgeous embroidery hoop with this stand, it's so beautiful. Get yourself over to the website if you haven't seen Sheer Delight. It flew out, and no surprise, right? You've got this beautiful embroidery hoop, which is actually artwork. It's made with card. It doesn't look like it. It looks like it's made with wood. You get the downloads for it, and you get to create things like this. And we'll be doing a demo similar to this to start off with. Miss Taz is looking very surprised. She's just been on the Carnation website to have a look if she can find Sheer Delight, to see if it's on there. It is. The number is 230205, and Carnation have got it on a price of $79.99. I don't know if that's correct, but it's certainly on there at that price at the minute, so go and have a look. But the silly prettiness of this, it's so gloriously done, and we can take it in so many directions. Look at that. Isn't that incredible? What I'm going to do is just get rid of my glass mat for a minute. Oh. Forever. Just get rid of my glass mat. It's a good job it's tempered glass, isn't it? If anybody would like a really good crafting mat, that's where you get it from. Isn't that sweet? All of the ways you're going to play. And think how it's going to come in with your original Sheer Delight collection, with your original alphabet. It is just, I'm so chuffed they've done this. Really pretty, right? Really, really pretty. You can't make a bad card with Carnation. We know it. What I'm going to do, my first demo, I'm using the embroidery hoop, but I'm not actually going to use this stand. However, I do think it's important for those of you who are buying Sheer Delight this morning to know how to make the stand. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. Very, very quick. I won't be long with it. I'm just going to show you how to put this together. That way you're not confused when you get it home. You get a die with Sheer Delight, and one of them is the little triangles that you see on my desk. They look like little pyramids, and you need 3 of them in order to make the stand. It's got a score line here. What we do is fold on that score line on all 3 pieces. Nothing too tricky there. You can choose at this point whether or not you'd like to use wet glue or whether or not you want to use red liner. I'm going to go out on a limb and say use wet glue, because if you commit with red liner, there's no going back, and you don't want to have to keep cutting it if you get it stuck in the wrong place. However, it is personal choice, just my advice. What we're going to do is take some glue. We're going to put the big part over the little part. So the big triangle over the little triangle. We're going to do exactly the same on the second. Big triangle, and we're doing it over the little triangle. And we're creating a pyramid. They're all going to sit together at the top. And then the last one, we're just going to glue that over that edge. So similar again. Nothing tricky with this at all. Just place. That's all 3 of them together. Obviously you'll take a bit more time and make sure they're fully stuck down. I'm just doing this very quickly. What happens then is you get a choice. The line that goes down the centre here is not an actual score line. It looks like it, but it's not an actual score line. So we get choices. Now mine's not fully stuck here. You're going to obviously take more time. I'm being very quick because I'm not actually demoing with this. But if you want to do so, you can fold one of those in at one side, lift it and raise it, and you can use it to post flat. So you see now I can post that. It's flat. So if you're going to put it in the post, make sure you do one of those faux score lines, and then you can fold that out, and that is your stand for your card. You can do that one if you want to make it more symmetrical at the back too. Entirely up to you, and it will sit. Okay? And that allows you to fold it flat. If you're just going to hand it in a box, then you can keep it as it is, just as the full pyramid, but it means you get to play in loads of ways. Now, that's all I'm doing on the stand, because I'm not actually using the stand for a card base, but I did want to make sure that those of you who are buying Sheer Delight today know exactly how to make that when you get home, because it's a big part of Sheer Delight. So I hope that helped everybody. Elizabeth, hi, lovely Carla. This set is so beautiful to work with, isn't it? Isn't it? There's something about it. Hold on. Patricia's got a question. Good morning, girls. I need some help, but not to do this year. Within the reads, mirror vignettes with the lines at the bottom of the print off, how do you do it? I can't do that on this show because I don't have it with me. But hopefully either somebody in the group will be able to help, or I will find it and we will have a look at it afterwards. Lots of you saying you love this. It's something that happened, isn't it? Sheer Delight is, I can't explain that any better than that. Sheer Delight happened. In the same way that the magic fireplace happened. Miss Taz agrees, it happened. Something amazing happened. And it just, every now and again, there is such a magic thing that happens within the craft industry, and Carnation blew us all away with this. It's insanely pretty, but now you've got the numbers. Let's craft. Let's do the thing. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is do it without the glass mat, just while I'm sticking down this, because last time, it's really hard to see. I've got a piece, can you see it? Can you see it? Of tully. I've got a piece of that. Now, it's very difficult for me to see it and for me to be able to put it down. I wonder if I've got a piece of white card. If I do it on that, and then I should be able to see it better. You kind of need a plain white surface, and then you can just sort of see the netting. You probably won't be able to when you're at home, but I might be able to see it a wee bit better. So I'm taking my first vignette, and all I'm going to do is just put a little bit of glue. I'm not too worried about getting it all of the way around, but you can if you want. I'm just going to put little bits, because all I'm doing is sticking them together, but enough to make sure that I've got the adhesion that I need in order to keep the card stabilised. What I don't want is for that tulle to disappear. There's my circle, and I'm just going to sit it just on here. Make sure I've got it all the way around. Now, when you're cutting these out, sometimes you're better off just going slightly bigger. So using the biggest die on these, on the piece of the fabric, cut 5 or 6 at the same time. And if you go a little bit larger, you can snip a bit off if you need to, but better larger than having big holes in it. And I'm just going to find, I've got a dark edge here and a dark edge here. I'm going to pair those up and push that down. And there should be enough glue and adhesion coming through from before. And that should allow me to just play. So now I've got my beautiful, beautiful piece ready to go. If, like here, I've got some looser parts here where I don't have glue underneath it, I can add glue if I need to. I don't need it because I'm not putting it on the stand, and it's going to be actually sitting firm. And I'm hoping I haven't stuck it to that cardboard. Oh, it's here. So what I can do, where it's just coming loose, is add a little glue. Remember, always better to use less glue and add than it is to use more glue and try and take it away, especially when we're using this netting, because it will show through. So just little pieces of adhesion here. If you've got any that's hanging over the edge, feel free to snip. That's absolutely fine to do. Just don't get too close to the card of the vignette, because you don't want to be snipping the wrong pieces. So now I've got this netting sitting through. Now I've got some white card, and I've got 2 white card bases. So I'm going to go back to my mat, just here. And I'm going to take my 8x8s, and that's all they are, just 2 8x8s. And I'm going to fold, sorry Miss Taz, am I on the wonk? Nothing unusual there, girl. So I'm just going to take this, shuffle the 2 together, okay? And then we commit down at the bottom. Now I'm kind of lining it up with my board there so I can see I'm in the right place, and I'm just going to stick those together. Now, if I place this straight down, I'm not entirely sure what that is. If I place that straight down, I've lost all effect. There's no point, right? There was no point me putting any of that fabric on there. What is the reason for putting the fabric on there if I'm just going to lay it flat? There's no reason for it. Because what I do essentially is just dampen everything. And when we dampen a layer, when I say white on wet and I say use foam tape, if we dampen a layer too much, it just becomes pointless. It's a step in crafting that was pointless for us to take. So I'm not going to do that. First of all, I'm going to use some blush papers, and I've got the blush rose here, which is one of my favorites. I love it. It's just got a hue of pink to it. It's very, very pretty. But see how tonally I shift and I start to soften in the center, okay? And it's got that lovely buttery feel to it, which we need in order to just allow some tonal change. So 3 tabs, 1 in the center, which keeps a support. I'm not using it for stick, it's support. 2 tabs there. Get yourself to where you want it to be. And for this one, you'll notice I'm using a much bigger area than normal on mats and layer. So this is much bigger around here. And the reason that I'm doing that very specifically is because my mats and layers essentially are not going to be a big part of my card. So I'm doing it as if it's a picture. Think of the outside then as being a mount and not an actual picture itself. We're going to need some height. So I'll take a pair of scissors. Now I can't use much. I've got tiny surface areas to work with, and I'm going to use those just by snipping in and doing tiny pieces. Now when you're at home, measure this specifically. I'm not, because I'm demoing, so I'm not too worried if a little bit shows, because I know you at home will cut smaller. But you can see tiny pieces. I'll just do 4 for the sake of this. So I'm edging out at all 4 sides. My advice, do 8. So do them in between as well. But you don't need to see me cutting foam tape for the next 10 minutes. So I'm just spacing. Now obviously take more time than I am. So 1 more, really thin little pieces. And just place just on there, okay? That'll do for me. When you're at home, just take a bit more time. Where this flattened out, and I dampened that earlier because I don't want to dampen it. Now that I've got that, you see the shadow that comes through the round? That allows some playway, because what I'm actually going to do is then place up this on top. And now I get beautiful shadows. See how that goes through at the bottom? And it's like a window. Like a church window. It's so pretty. Just that rise, tiny bit of rise on foam tape. It's going to change the way that you are comping in your pieces. And it's just to do with shadow. Tell you all the time, shadow is free. It's just the best thing to play with because it gives such a different view, right? So I'm just going to take this, getting rid of all of these pieces. Suzanne says, sorry I'm late, I was crafting and lost myself big time. We never apologise for crafting. Right, I'm just going to put this because I've got something that is no doubt part of Miss Phyllis just sitting there. So I'm just going to hide it just into here, place down. Already my shadow comes through. And I've got that netting here so I can hold this entirely in place, right? And it'll lift and then those shadows will dance underneath, and that is just perfection. So bits of glue on here. Now I'm going to put a little bit more than I normally do just because I want it to hit all the spots and because I can't press it. So when we're talking glue, first things first, I can't press this down because if I do, I'm going to make that chul move, and I don't want to do that. So as a quiller, I can tell you, first of all, the main thing with any glue, and it's a really important lesson and it sounds obvious when you say it, but it took me a long time to learn it. Glue is at its most sticky point about 30 seconds after you put it on. So if I put this straight down, I'm in danger of it moving because I can't press it. So I'm hoping that the adhesion just occurs. In order to ensure that occurs, leaving it while I'm talking to you now is allowing it to just get tacky. And as soon as that tacky point hits and I can turn it over, it will now stick quite fast because I can't push it. If I push down, it's going to stick to the card underneath. That's going to cause me massive problems. So now I can leave it and I can just tap it on and that'll stay. So as I'm crafting, that adhesion is sticking to that netting underneath, okay? And that will stay beautifully. So just, I'm sure most of you know that already, but just one of those things, we live and learn, don't we, right? So now that I've got that in place, one of the things that I do want to do is just put the little embroidery hoop piece on it. Tiny amounts of glue just on the edges there. And I'm just going to stick that at the top. Okay, pretty, pretty, pretty as a picture. And then we're going to start decorating. Now we come in with the fun. So my florals. The first thing I'm going to do is put my numbers down, not my florals. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I need to make sure that I've centered everything. And if I put my florals down first, then my numbers have to shift over, it will look imbalanced. It's better that your florals just overlap your numbers slightly than your numbers get shoved off kilter because you put your florals down. So just by thinking those steps through, we can kind of just arrange. So the numbers I've got are 57 or 75, whichever. Which would you like, Miss Taz? 57 or 75? 57. 57. So all I'm going to do with these, and I'm keeping these flat because I'm going to shape the flowers. Now, obviously, you guys will sit and decoupage all of these up with those beautiful little florals that you've got. I'm very delicately going to place this down because I need to know I've got it centered, but because I'm using two numbers very specifically, one that's very wide and one that's very narrow, I need to know that my centering is correct. I can tell you already that it needs to move further across because it didn't look right. My seven's got to sit within the circle, but I can't have them sitting on top of each other. There needs to be a gap somewhere for kerning. Now, kerning is to do with anything that we have to do with fonts. So when we have a space between two letters when you're typing, or even when you're handwriting, it's called kerning, and we need that kerning to occur on here. So I'm looking for my kerning to separate so that I can have an equal value on my numbers, and that's what gives it the look, the centered look. And that's why I do that before I ever go towards decorating with my flowers, because once my kerning's correct, I can then know that my florals will work round it and everything will be composed with equal value. So it gets that beautiful kind of visual, the beautiful aesthetic. So your kerning is important. Allow a gap between your numbers, and that will just give you that gorgeous little definition. We're going to go in with these beautiful flowers. Now, for those of you who know me, and you know me sort of shaping and sculpting, you know I often do my flowers in a dome going down, and that's something that I craft with a lot. But for this one, I'm going to do my domes going up. We're going to change the value of it slightly because I'm using the embroidery hoop. So I don't want it sort of hanging off the edge by doming down. What I want it to do is sit proud. So we're going to work upwards. Now that means we're working from the front of the vignette. So normally I would turn this over and I would work on the back. I'm working on the front. It becomes more important when you're doing this to do it very delicately, and it becomes more important to work from the outside, break those fibres, work in a spiral to the inside. You don't want to crease it if you're using it from the front. Sometimes you can just get away with a little crease on the back because you can't see it on the front. On the front you can't, so we work much slower. So we're just going through the edges and we're breaking fibres as we go. So each push on here, and I'm not pushing hard, but that dense foam that I've got underneath on this mat, which I can't push because it's so dense, that's allowing and supporting me to break the fibres without creasing too hard. Once I get to the center point of that, I'm going to take a smaller ball tool and I'm going to just start circling through on the middle point. Can you hear it cracking? It'll be too quiet for you guys, I think. What that's going to allow it to do is just dome really far forward. And what I mean by that, hopefully you can see it more on the white board underneath there, because you'll start to see the shadow. See how we sculpted upwards? That's my point. That's what I'm using in order to create. So that normally speaking, I would just put that straight down and I would start working with my florals from it, because the rest of my florals are smaller. But what I want to do first is just make sure my composition works. And it just makes sense to me. I'm going to decoupage that one flower up. So I'm still working from the front, I'm working on the outside edge, and I'm just breaking fibres. So we're outside, outside, towards the inside, spiral in, straight to that centre point, and then I'm just going to do a little bit more work on the insides. See how, can you see any give at all? There's so little give in this mat. If ever you're sculpting with paper, sculpt with a dense mat. If you don't have a dense mat, you'll crack your paper because your ball tool will go through it. Carnation's ball tools are heavier than normal ball tools, so they've got weight to them because they're metal all the way through, and that allows us to have a different pressure point, but it's also the density of the mat, and the two work sort of symbiotically in order to be able to sculpt properly with paper, because obviously all of Carnation's dies, when they're hand drawn by Nick and the team, they're done with cut lines, and that's for us to sculpt. So everything works together, and that's why they have all of the things that they have. So I'm just going to lay this through, and that's going to be able to sit on there in a second, and then I'm going to shape this one. That ball tool's too big. My surface area is too small, so I'm going to swap to the smaller one and work around. So we're always working to the size that we've got, and then I'm going to go into the centre and push, and that's where my doming comes. Okay, so you get that beautiful lift. So I'm going to take that, and then all I'm going to do with all of them, or certainly with the last two, is just push those even further in, because they're now my decoupage elements. Decoupage elements need to sit further forward from each other, so I'm just pulling where I've broken those fibres, and where I've done it, just manipulate it slightly, and then I'm going to go in with pin flare. And this is where we use larger amounts of pin flare, because I'm going to lift it. So that's going to sit up here. So I've got the height. And then again, I'm not pushing it. I'm not trying to make anything squish, and I'm not trying to force it. If you try and force paper, paper will fight back. See how we get that beautiful height? Really gorgeous lift that sits pretty as a picture. Okay, and it's important, those little pieces of time that we take when we're sculpting, where you say, okay, I'm going to work slowly, and I'll work from the outside, and I'll make sure I've got the right tools to do it. They're the things that make the difference to our finished products, because it's actually what makes it look finished. It makes it look very beautiful. But it is an extra couple of minutes work. If you're brand new to card making, you don't need to go to those extremes if you don't want to. It's a lovely way of playing though. And I advise anybody who is interested in composition and working with florals and working with carnation dies to just spend a little bit of time shaping, because they're designed to do it. So I'm going to take these florals here, work from the outside, work inwards. See how that starts to cup my ball tool underneath? Same again, round here, into that centre point, raising it up. See the dimension we now get? Really pretty, right? Really, really beautiful. So composition wise, we then start to lay out, where do we want our composition to be? So this obviously will sit because I will have glued it, but at the minute I'm just placing. I love those yellows with the purple. Think of your colour wheel. Purple and yellow are so pretty together. Okay, but I want to fan this out a little bit so I can start to manipulate and move little pieces and work out, look at this, where I want it to go. Really pretty. And I'm happy with that as a composition piece, but I want it further down. I want it to just sit a bit lower. And I can't tell you why, except for visually I know that that's not quite right. So I've got choices. Do I want to pull it down to the bottom? Well, no, that's going to imbalance it even more. But I do know one thing. If I'm going to leave that there and I've got the embroidery piece here, I'm going to need something opposite. So whichever way I work, I'm going to need something over here, because I can see composition wise that it's not quite right. So I'm going to take these off first of all. And the first thing I'm going to do is place this one, because this is my central point, it's my focus, and I'm just going to bring it down slightly to what I had it a minute ago. I don't want this bulbous floral sitting on the bulbous point of the 5. So I can move it this way and have it central, which I don't like. I like it off center, or I can bring it further down, and then it's not fighting with that number 5. and that's what I'll do. I'll bring it slightly down so that it doesn't fight. Now I've obviously got to let that glue dry. So while that's doing that, I'll bring in these yellows, and I'm just going to place them next to. Now I'm not using pin flare, and I'm not using pin flare for very good reason, and that's because I've got a gap between here. And if I use pin flare, it's going to squish, and I don't want it to do that, so I'm finding that yellow point, just placing under. So I've got my purples playing with my yellows. And then I'm going to take this through just onto here. Okay, you see how I've avoided the two bulbous parts. So the bulbous flower and the bulbous part of the 5, I've now avoided that. So we're not clashing, but I'm going to need something over here because my diagonal needs to be a visual there. So I'm going to take this and just slide that through, and I'm bringing round. I'm drawing it round that hoop. I think composition might be one of my favourite things. Just placing. So it's not quite an L, we've got the curvature, we've still got the curvature, we're following the hoop, but we have cornered it out, okay? So then just to add something to the other side, and you know me, I like to work in symmetry. So I've got some little pieces here, and I've got this big floral. Now I don't know that I'm going to use the big floral because I think it's too much. And if I place it, I've got to place it somewhere, I think probably around there or around here. And I can absolutely do that, and maybe that is what I'll do. I'm just going to play with comp for a second, so just bear with me while I work out my bearings. I like it going that way, and the reason I like it going that way is, for me, in my head, that's my starting point, and that's got that there. I'm not going clockwise, I'm going anti-clockwise, because the first thing that I see are the flowers. So your point is drawn at the top, you come round to your flowers and you work your way up. So it makes sense to me that that floral will go that way. It's how we see things, right? It's your clock, but we're in reverse. It's not, that's the wrong side for it to be clockwise. It's anti-clockwise. That makes sense in my head. Sorry, guys. And then a little bit of this here. Take that through. We'll use that one. Look at those colours. Isn't that just glorious? And then I'm just going to bring in, I'm not going to go full out symmetrical, Miss Taz. I'm going to go, I know it's different for me, right? I love those. They're like little cornflowers. And then fully round to that inside point. So I've got those two, and then these, I'm not going to do too much with these because I think it's like gypsophilia basically. I'm doing those upside down just to get that dome in, bringing through, and then I'm just going to, oh, I love these so much. They're so sweet. Let's comp it. Let's see where I'm going with this. Just one on there. That little visual aesthetic. Little bit of the gypsophilia. Just a tuck-in. Remember, Carnation offer us tuck-ins all the time, and they make such a massive visual difference. So that's not my main star, it's there just to give me an extra oomph. One more of those little cornflowers, just sitting there, slightly overlapping. So we're making it sort of busier. Those numbers are exquisite. They're so good. They're so pretty. This is a one-day deal for you to get the different colorways as well. Now, when I'm talking about the different colorways, you've seen me working in the original there. I think one of my demos is in the other colorway, I'm not sure. But I do want to have a look at them and just show you some of the others so that you can see them in their full colour. Now, obviously, I've shown you the board, so I'm not going to go too far into it. But what I do want to look at is how we can then compose with them. And as I was looking at these and I was starting to work with the different variants of them, my little brain was going into so many different collections of previous Carnation collections that they've done. So when I look at these, I can start to go, ooh, that would work with boho. That would work with Summer Bliss. Was it Summer Bliss?
And Summer Pursuits.
Summer Pursuits. You know, all the different collections that I'm going into. And if you start to think of that in terms of what we've just made here, when you're using those numbers, start to think of other elements and other florals and how they'll work with these. Because the numbers that you've got here, they're all done in what I would class as Carnation colours. And because Carnation use regulated hues amongst their collections, it means that things work. If I was to put all of those florals into one big bowl, they would just look beautiful. There's no clashing here because Carnation use regulated hues. The importance of Nick and the team doing all of the shading and all of the work in-house is not just something that they're proud of, it's something that makes it work, because it allows us to play, right? And we don't need to worry about colour theory. Colour theory is virtually impossible to learn most of the time, especially when we're just crafting. We don't want to have to learn all of that. So the fact that we've got it comped out for us is really important. But those made with numbers, those numbers, you're going to create some absolute corkers with that. And you're going to find them on the Carnation Crafts website, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. And you're going to find them under Deal of the Day today. But it is only today that you're getting those extra composition florals, because as of midnight tonight, that's gone. It is today and today only. And I got to tell you, those numbers for the amount of dies you're getting in here is a cracking price. So 230422, the Made with Flowers numbers die set, $49.99, $2.95 P&P. Got to tell you, how much is the glue? Do you know, Taz? Or the ball tool set. Find something that's at low cost that you are going to use all the time and take yourself over that postage point, because if it's £3 for your postage, you may as well get something for your £3, right? That's my advice. You do you.
Everyday glue is $14.99.
$14.99. How much was the ball tool? For 7 bottles, $14.99. At what?
On a sale price.
That's good. We like sale prices. Right. Let's have a look at something completely different. You know I'm going to do some chunk, right? Let's do some aperture work. So I've got that one there. Let's aperture in. Now, what I did when I was doing this, I was looking at some of the florals and I thought, I'm going to find me some perfect papers from some different collections. And I did just that. Which collection did I get the perfect papers from? I can't remember. I've got so many, I don't know. But I found some purple hues. And we're going to work in colour with these. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do one more card as well. So we've got 3 to work with. Are you okay, Miss Taz?
Yeah.
She's a real fidget pants this morning.
I was just thinking about how beautiful they would look as table numbers.
Can you imagine them at a wedding?
But that's what I mean. Because there's loads of different colourways which can kind of cater to
whichever wedding colours you were having as a theme.
And it's really nice because not everyone does 1 to 10 now. People kind of do like age that they met. So it's really adaptable.
I think just for so many things, birthdays, we use numbers a lot. But the other thing is as well, if you're using food safe sticks, you could put these on the top and use them as cake toppers as well for numbers for your cakes. If you've got any kind of skill with a piping bag and you're using similar colours in your icing, to have these sitting on top would just be absolutely glorious, right? So we're 8x8 in again. We're working on aperture this time, okay? And we're using it in a way of just bringing everything kind of together in a different format. But you know that if we're working with apertures, the first thing I'm going to work with is foam tape, because apertures need that breathing space. And so my foam tape becomes my best friend. Now, because I need some height on some of my apertures, I've kept some of my apertures, or some of my mats and layers, should I say, on much lower foam tape. And that's because what I don't want it, I don't want it to be a 10-tier cake at the end of the day. I need it to be reasonable. As much as I love my chunky cards, there's got to be a stopping point, right? So I'm taking this through. So I think this is a 3mm or a 2mm foam tape. And I'm just pushing this down. So I've got those tabs. Look at that colour. That's corking, right? That is bright, happy, sunny, delicious. So I'm going to place. We're going to push. We're going to pull. That's my first one done. I could not work just on that. That's way too bright for me, okay? And so we start to cool it down. Remember, perfect papers always have the best friend. They always play together. They've got a partner, and that is the softer hue. So we're going to cool those tones. We're going in with the lilac. I can't see if this is straight because I can't lean over, and as much as I did dye my hair about a week ago, there's a lot of grey back in it already. So I'll put that back there. Now, we've got another one, okay? We're cooling it. See how we cool it right down, but we've got this glorious edge in, right? But I am going to work with apertures, so I'm going to bring these back in. So this one, again, very, very low foam tape. Pull, create your tabs, get them into place. Am I there, Taz? Roughly. Hey up.
There you go.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are we going for it? Okay.
Go for it.
Push, pull. Good morning, Sheila Perry. So, now, you can probably see as well as I can how messy this is underneath here. You see? Doesn't matter. When you're creating apertures, you can't see the back. So, the way I do it, you're going to take a piece of card. So I need my main one to be straight, obviously. So I take the proper size of card and I put my die on that. But that one is always going to be, hold on, let me get my brain right, the largest one. Okay, and then I got to work down in 2 layers. Now it's really hard, especially when we're doing, I'm not doing layered apertures, that's a completely different one, and there is a tutorial for that in the Carnation Crafters group. When I'm doing flat apertures, the 2 layers that are underneath, it doesn't matter, you just need them to be smaller. So take your next die down and cut it, and then your next die down on another piece of cardstock and cut that. And then just cut them so they fit in between each other, because it doesn't matter. I'm messy at the back here. Are you going to see it? No. So does it matter? No, because it's the end result, right? So when I turn it, what I get is something super, super pretty. It doesn't matter. That bit is never going to be seen. If you can get that foam tape off, good luck to you. But for that bit, it doesn't matter. So just give yourself a break. I hear a lot of you saying, I can't do this. Of course you can. What we don't need to do is strive for perfection every time. What we need to do is strive for what works and what makes crafting pleasurable. Otherwise, what are we doing, right? So I'm going to place that down. Am I about straight, Miss Taz? Roughly there. Look at that. Beautiful, vibrant, full colour. It's what Carnation do. They do their colours so well. Get your perfect papers out, play with them. These cards go so well with all of these colours. So what I did was pick out colours where we're bringing out the same tonal piece. So we've got the same warmth in the purples here, and we've actually got the same tones within that pink of the same tones here. So everything starts to work together, and that's with perfect papers you are likely to already have in your collection. No need for you to worry about getting more or doing more in that way. The first thing I'm going to do is put my numbers down, and I'm going to put them inside the aperture and hope they fit, because I've already stuck the heart down. Otherwise we'll all be in bother. I'm going to go for 16 rather than 61. You could have it either way. So again, gently lay in. I don't want to commit to anything. I'm purposefully in these demos using a thin number and a bulbous number, just so we can look at that kerning again, because I've got to see where these are going to lay. So I'm happy with that. See how I've got a space between, because this is a serif, and I've got the serif point here rather than a sans serif, which is without the little lines. I need to know that it curves in on my 6, and I'm happy with that. But I will just raise my 1 just ever so slightly. So I've got that in about the right place, and I'm happy with that stick. So now I can go in with my 6. Perfect sweet 16. Do you remember being 16? I wish I remembered being 16. Seems like a long, long time ago. Let's put that there. I mean, it was a long, long time ago, Miss Taz.
I didn't want to say. But...
long, long, long time ago. Gosh, 32 years ago? Ooh, let's not talk about that anymore.
That's older than I am.
we've already established I'm actually old enough to be Miss Taz's mother. She's very glad I'm not, but I am old enough to be, so let's not discuss that anymore. Right, so let's take this big floral up. So again, we're working from the outside, and again, I'm going to dome this one up. It just works, this one. It's got a beautiful sort of cut and everything just to raise it. Sam says mine was longer than that. Should we just not talk about the ages anymore? No, it's scary. It's scary. Oh well. I've achieved quite a lot in my life. I'm quite pleased with that. Most of it to do with, you know, cooking pot noodles, but I've done it. So work into the inside here. Just rolling on that inside point. Okay, so we've got that. Suzanne says, now you make me feel very old, Carla. Don't feel old. None of us are old. A little bit. No. You're old as well, Miss Taz.
I'm not old.
She's pretty young. She's in her 20s. She takes great delight in the fact that I'm old and forgetful. So that's going to sit at the bottom of my heart, and I'm going to work my way up, and I'm going to bring in these florals as I'm working, and then I'm going to put a little bit of decoupage onto that 16 as well. Now I'm aware that time is slipping, so there is a chance we may go over the hour. I'm hoping Miss Taz is okay with that, seeing as I've promised to cook her a roast dinner so she can complain to me later. So I'm just going to work with these. I do want to get all 3 demos done if that's okay, but you can come back and watch at any time if you can't stay this morning, but I would like to do all 3 demos. There are my daisies. The joy of our own channel is we can do that. But I will stop talking about being old. So place that inside here. Miss Taz is laughing. Poor Miss Taz, she does put up with a lot. And then I'm going to use this. Kate says she's very forgetful as well. See, Miss Taz, it's not just me. I forget everything. Well, unfortunately, people with ADHD are forgetful. Then I've got menopause, and that makes me forgetful. So basically, at this stage, I'm lucky I remember who you are.
I don't think you do. You keep calling me Tash.
I do keep calling her by her sister's name, which she doesn't love. It's not my fault. Right, I'm just going to go around here and then work on that inside point. Just see how that raises really far. So because I broke the fibres there, then I go into this point and I start to roll. Can you see how it starts to sort of grasp? It's almost like it's trying to get hold of the ball tool. And that's what we're trying to achieve for those decoupage layers, because it will allow me to really pull in that full fold. And that's what I'm trying to achieve. Hold on. Sam says, would you decoupage the numbers as well as the florals on the card? Yeah, we're going to actually look at that in a second. I don't have time to. The reason I haven't been decoupaging the numbers fully, and I haven't done any yet, but I'm going to do some in this card, is because it would take too long, because there's literally a ton of them. And you can make, I'm just going to grab Miss Janine's here. Look, can you see this, where she has done every single one? And they kind of look like seashells. Can you see? They're so pretty. So that's what I would do, given all the time in the world. But if I was to sit and do that, it would take me about an hour just to do one card. And I did want to get more demos done for you. But absolutely just go for it. Listen, the more detail you put on it, the more effective your cards are. And then place that in just for my decoupage so I get a little bit more. But that shaping is so important when you're doing that. There's no point doing it if you're not going to shape it out. And then get more realism. See how it comes over here? So same again. Pretty as a picture. It's so pretty. Let's bring in some of these florals. Let's really build up the scene. Outside. Not you, Tess. Work to the inside. Outside. Work to the inside. Get that ball. Out. Hey, Jacqueline. Hey, Joyce. I'm just seeing all the people on YouTube. Please do remember to subscribe on the YouTubes. I'll give you a little notification when we're on if you press the notification bell. Now, I've got some options here. I'm going to use these tuck-ins. You can just see them here. And the question is, where do I go with them? Comp-wise. If I go up here, I start to bring the heart further round, which is very pretty. Or I can choose to just add the foliage in here, which is actually what I'm going to do. But your choice is either. So you can start to really roll round, which is beautiful, or we can tuck in. Both of them gorgeous methods. It just depends what you want to do. And I like the idea of the little tuck-ins being where they are. Sue says, my children and grandchildren get fed up of repeating themselves because I don't remember. I know that feeling. That's Miss Taz. She does that with me. I was literally midway through a conversation this morning, literally midway through a conversation with Miss Taz, and I forgot what I was saying as I was saying it. And I was like, what was I saying? And she was like, what? It's been old. What can I say? I've got no memory. I keep walking into rooms and can't remember what I went in for. Okay, what was the original collection called with a hoop? See, I've already forgotten. Yeah, thanks, Sue. It was sheer delight. It's the most exquisite collection. It's so pretty. Right, 2 more of these florals, and then we're going to go in with some of the decoupage on the numbers, and then I'm going to move on very, very fast to a 3rd demo, because I don't want to keep you here forever, but I do want to give you the 3rd demo. Like I say, you can come back at any time and watch these videos. If you do need to leave, I totally get it. More than used to talking to myself. So pop this in. Now, I do want to look at these florals just to show you how these work. Although you're not daft, you know how to do these, but best way to do these, best way to do your decoupage on this. There's different ways. So I'm not going to tell you that my way is the correct way. But I'm going to tell you if you want to achieve something like Janine's done, then there are better ways of doing it than others. That being said, whatever works for you is the correct way. End of. There are no rights and wrong. There are no police in crafting, okay? However, if you want to get it where it's sort of jeweled, that's a really good word, where it's like jeweled, you're going to have to shape. And what that means is, realistically, you don't really want to be using foam tape because you're going to find it hard to disguise the foam tape. This is really where pin flare comes in, because foam tape's going to show. They're tiny flowers. So pin flare is going to be the thing that hides it, okay? So what we need to do, where I've been doming these upwards, we need to now dome downwards because we're going to hide that pin flare underneath it. That's important. So I'm doming down. So I'm going to turn them all the other way around, and I'm going to do it that way so that they dome downwards, and then I can put them over. And that's probably the best way I can tell you to do it. And I hope that helps. So making sure, it really doesn't, I can't even tell what's the right way and what's the wrong way. Don't keep saying you're old, lots of us older than you. I feel old, I think that's the thing, Maggie. Right, let's go in with this, outside in. Now, I'm doming fully on this, so I'm starting at this point, and I'm going to do it with all of them, and then I'm going to take a smaller ball tool. So I'm getting the first shaping done, I'm breaking the fibres, okay? And then I'm taking a smaller ball tool. And that is so that I can press further down in that centre and let it bowl even more. That's where I'm getting my shaping from. Just pushing into that foam mat, that lovely, lovely density, so that it really, really protrudes. And then same here, sculpt that paper, push it round. Good morning, Sandra. And turn it, those perfect little domes. They're so pretty. And then we're going to go in with pin flare, if I can find what I've done with my syringe. And we're just going to place. See how then that starts to just raise and you get that little shadow. And more here. Beautiful. Can you imagine this with all of those florals done? Really pretty. That lovely jeweled edgings on your cards. So gorgeous. Just laying down. And one more. See how pretty they are? See how they start to come to life when you build those in? So now if I was to do all of those, you'd get that full, very complex look on the card, which is really pretty, very delicate as well. And it just gives it that extra oomph. So my advice, if you're using these numbers or when you're using these numbers, just try and decoupage up those flowers if you can. Really good starting point is to cut out some of the flowers, cut out some of those decoupage points, and then just sit and actually do them. Because if you've got certain numbers that you know that are going to be coming up in the future, you can sit and do them and really bring them together, and then you've got them to use in the future whenever you want. Same with the letters, you can do it with all of them. And once you've got that whole collection sitting there, you can just grab. Sheer Delight is the one collection that you're going to use and use and use and use. And we've seen it, haven't we, in the group, in the Carnation Crafters group, so many people crafting with Sheer Delight because it's so phenomenal. You know, it like I said, they did a thing. Carnation did a thing with Sheer Delight, and so we all get used to that sort of that beautiful visual that we've got. So try and decoupage up those numbers. Just to let you know once more that the number for those on the Carnation Crafts website is 230422. It's the Made with Flowers numbers die set. Today only, you're going to get the other colorways. So not just the original colorways, but all your extra colors as well. So you've got all of these coming in, and that's $7.99 normally, but they are giving you that today, this composition set, they're giving you that today for free. But at midnight tonight, that's gone. The offer's gone. So put your dies in at $49.99 in your basket, check out as normal, and they will appear with it. So that's fine. You don't need to do any extra. It will happen simultaneously all at once. Carnation have sorted all of that out for you, so you don't have to. But at midnight, you've lost it. Unfortunately, the deal goes. Right, one more to look at, and then I will leave you in peace, I promise. So let's have a look at one more piece. Oh. I use sellotape instead of like softer tape on my bags, and that keeps sticking to everything. Let me just have a look at this. Right, let's get some of these bits and bats out. Now, when I was looking for my perfect papers to make demos with, I came across something in my cupboard, and do you know what? I can't remember the last time I ever saw it. I must have at some point. Talking about memory loss. But as I was going through, look at that. Now, this comes, you guys might remember this. This comes from a really beautiful pack I didn't know I had. Graphite tones. I didn't know I had it. Carnation do a graphite tones. So it's got black, and then it's got this really beautiful, I'm hoping Carnation doesn't shout at me. They'll be like, that Carla, we don't have any of those anymore. But if they have, it's got a really beautiful slate grey in it. It's got black, slate grey and light grey, and they're beautiful. Look at those. Aren't they pretty? Really on trend at the minute. Really on trend. I was so chuffed when I found them. So thanks, Carnation. I didn't even know I had those. So that was quite the thing. Right. I've decided to use the lightest of the greys. Now, the beautiful, it was a Christmas release. Thanks, Pam Simpson. You're good. So the reason that I've gone for the graphite in this, and I'm using that very cool grey, is because tonally on white, it works beautifully. It's got a really lovely effect to it. Now, what I've done is, look at that. Look at that. So when we're creating that hoop, so where I was looking at before with your Sheer Delight dies, okay, this piece which I put on separately, if you remember, that one was glued at the back. That piece is a die, and in order to cut that die, you have another die that sits around the outside edge. If you take that die away and you just cut it straight into some paper, you get that into some cardstock. You get that, and that's what I've done. So that is your just beautiful. Isn't it gorgeous? Where it plays with that grey on the back, I really love those combos together. Really, really pretty. And it's something a little bit different, right? So what I've done is raised all of that on foam tape, and I have put some on that central piece just in the middle in order to prevent it sagging, because I didn't want it to kind of drop in the middle. Now I will say, while I'm just here, I'm just going to put that there. If I take a darker shade of this graphite and just, okay, do you see how we're working here? Beautiful, right? Actually, that would be nice, the two together, wouldn't it? So if we then go for the mid-tones, you know what's going to happen now, don't you? All of my demos for the next 6 months are going to have graphite tones in, because I have fallen in love. Look at them. Aren't they so pretty together? I love grey. There's something about grey tones, and they're so lovely to craft with. But it's not like a normal... Have you seen it? Can I hand it to you, Miss Taz? Look at the texture on that. So it's not like normal... It's not one shade. It is literally like graphite, which I can't show because you can't see it on camera. So it's not a shade. It's not like a block colour. It's tonal. If I raise it to that camera, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Will it go too far? Can you? There you go. Can you see it?
It might be because it's too dark.
No, you can see it there. It's tonal. You get a tonal shift. It's really pretty. Sorry. Anyway, that's my brain. Sorry, Carnation. My brain went. So I'm just going to place that onto there. And push, pull. Kate says, just ordered Sheer Delight, and the numbers with the April discount was $116.98. That's a bargain.
Oh, wow.
Kathleen says, hi Carla from Cyprus. Hey Kathleen. Hey Sandra. It's lovely to have all your company. Right, let's do this. Stop distracting me with papers that are pretty. Right. All of my bits and pieces. So again, one small number, one large. Now obviously when you're working with two that are the same, you'll comp it out differently. That can go in the very center, or I can take it over to an edge and work with the florals in the center. I can take it over to that edge. I can put them on an angle. It depends how you want them to work. I'm probably going to place them in the center. I don't know. I quite like them on the edges though. But whatever happens, you've got to have that kern in, okay? So I'm probably going to go 21 anyway, because that would make more sense. Look at the prettiness. Isn't it gorgeous? Annie Foxhall. Now look here, Carla. I was going to have a no-spend week and I failed. Just ordered the number. I know, but listen though, Annie, from Bath. Those numbers, look at that. They're so ridiculously pretty. How can you not? There's certain things that you're going to get in your crafting arsenal, and they're going to last you forever. And these are them. And Carnation are always, you can just make such pretty things with Carnation. That's the thing. I'm going to place them here. I'm going to place my two, but I've lifted them. And the reason I've lifted them on foam tape, in case any of you are wondering, which I doubt you were, but because this has got the gaps between it, I need them to raise. So I just need it to sit proud, and that can only happen with shadow. And the grey behind it, because I'm using those graphite tones, that tone behind it will allow that shine to just happen. So just gonna play. Look at that. It's pretty. I really love this collection. Right, we're going in with decoupage on this one again, but then I'm going to start looking at symmetry, which is something we haven't really done and something I love to do. So we're just going to go round. So Cara Jane says she's just ordered them too. Cara, you won't regret it. Really, really beautiful. Remember, you can download your original colorway too, and that's always going to be free, but the ones that you're getting free today on the deal of the day, they will not be available to you for free as of midnight tonight. It is a one-day only thing because it's a Crafters Select, and that is only available to people usually within the Carnation group, as they don't come out on the telebox. It's for the army. Just building that dome. That ball tool is way too big for that. Please do use a smaller one. Right, let's lift, let's raise, and let's play. Sue Dalrymple, are you not very well, Sue? Sam Smith, wish I had the funds. Well, hopefully you will eventually. Look at that. That on white cardstock is insanely pretty, isn't it? Now what I'm going to do is just pull it slightly down. I don't want it really to take away from that lace work, because every shadow that's playing in there is really important for the end product of the card. We're going to work in the round, so I'm just going to lay this down, and I am going to pin flare this one because I've got a solid base to pin flare it to. So I'm going to give it even more height. Just on that edging. The colour play is extraordinary with this collection. So pretty. Right, these little ones, I'm going to do them. All of my florals are going to be in the dome upright on this that I shape. I don't want to stick these down with wet glue because I'm going to tuck stuff under them, and if I was to go straight in and stick them, I won't be able to, and I don't want to go too far, but what I want to do is stick some longer, oh look at those, stick some longer ones in. Now in order to achieve that, my best options, look at that as it goes in the round, are to lift those blues, put these down, but I'm going to steal the pin flare from underneath, and I'm just going to raise these slightly, so again I gain shadow. So that's pin flare is under there, and I'm just sticking that into the pin flare, so I'm just using what I've already used, and then that leaves these bits free for shadow play. And the joy of pin flare is I can move it again and again and again until I'm happy with what I've purposed. So just shaping out. Isn't that gorgeous? I'm so in love with this whole collection. The minute I saw Sheer Delight, I knew something had happened. And then I'm just going to put this here, tuck in that little blue. Pretty as a picture, so gorgeous. And then I've got these two little fan flowers. I'm sure there's an official name for them. As you know, my floral knowledge is somewhat limited. And I've got these two as well. Now, what I don't want to do is overface it. I love the clean and simple. I love the white space. White space is so important in the narrative of the card. But there is also value in giving, where we are making something prominent and dominant, to actually use that space, okay? So it's not a case of just adding in for the sake of adding in, but actually making it so that it's valuable as a visual. So just extending the colour slightly out, we're fanning round. But as you see from this, when I talk about symmetry, this is where my brain goes. I can't have just one of those. It's got to match on the other side, otherwise I've got problems. There's something out of kilter, and it's just about the balance. So if I put some of this on here and just tuck in under that blue, just tuck it in. So we're just filling out that space. Pretty, pretty, pretty. But now I also need to then balance it slightly further in length, and I can do that by laying these on top, laying these underneath. I can just play with that length, but it needs to come out slightly, otherwise that looks odd. Okay, so I'm just going to lay these in. I'll put a little bit of wet glue on there. all the time we're just thinking about balance. How are we balancing? So bring that out. And then one more to the side and we are done. Just placing through. Make sure you're just clicking down. And that's all done. Look at how pretty that is. There's no denying it. This collection is ridiculously beautiful. There's nothing that you can't make that isn't beautiful in this whole set. It's ridiculously pretty. Carnation know what they're doing. Carnation are so clever at what they do, and it makes it a pleasure to craft with, not least because then after that we also get the customer service that we've all grown to expect, and I know loads of you are still bowled over by that. I don't think any of us will ever get used to that, because when you buy something and you receive it the next day, that's service, right? We like that, don't we, Miss Taz? How quick they do it.
Yeah.
I know, I don't quite know how they do it, I'll be honest, but they do it and we'll not question it. We'll just accept that that's what's happened, and appreciate it, because it is just an incredible bonus of buying from Carnation. I am back on Friday with some special vignettes.
Yeah.
Did I remember the things?
But what time?
I know. I'll be back at 10 o'clock on Friday with some very beautiful special vignettes, which will give you a fresh breathing space into all of your, not all of them, but into some of the collections you've previously had. So please do join me Friday at 10 o'clock and we will see what's going on there and make some delicious cards and just have some fun. So I will see you all then, but until then, please do take care. Bye.